Greetings, my fellow Fright Fiends. It's your buddy BoogeyMan Ben here for another episode of BoogeyMan Ben's Horror Zone, and this is part 6 of my countdown to Halloween series retrospective, overview, whatever you want to call it. Pretty much just wanted to do this to sort of show some love for one of my favorite horror film series of all time. And of course, in this segment, I will be talking about the infamous, the infamous 6th film in the series, which would come out 6 years after part 5. Talking about Halloween, The Curse of Michael Myers. Yeah, I saw Halloween, The Curse of Michael Myers opening day. I went after college. I was in college at the time, and I went right after school to see this in the theater. And upon initially watching The Curse of Michael Myers, I was very, very disappointed. I felt that the film had some really good moments, though, and and I'm going to talk about the theatrical cut before I talk about the producer's cut, which is a part of this series. So this is both cuts of the film, the producers and the theatrical cut. Now, I've had a problem with the theatrical cut for a long time because of the way it was edited, because of the character dynamic that was changed. They took out Loomis a lot. So Donald Pleasence had initially shot more, and they kind of cut his character out of the film quite a bit after his passing, and then they reshot the ending. So the ending that I will cover when I talk about the producer's cut was actually more focused on Loomis. But when Donald Pleasence passed away, they reshot it so he was less involved in it. So the character wasn't as heavily featured. The major problem I have with this film, outside of what they did to the Loomis character, is what they did to Jamie's character. The amazing Danielle Harris had played her in part 4 and 5, but they did not cast... There's a big... I'll recommend people check out a documentary. There's a segment on the box set that talks to Danielle Harris about what happened with Halloween 6 and why she wasn't cast as Jamie in the film. And it's really unfortunate. It really shows the total disrespect they had for her and what she had brought to this franchise, which is just amazing. The fact that J.C. Brandy had come in to play Jamie, and what they did to her character, killing her off really quickly, especially in the theatrical cut, pisses me off. It's such a disrespect to a character that had grown to be beloved, just like Jamie Lee Curtis from the original. Again, what happened with Rachel in part 5, I think, is not nearly as bad as what happened to Jamie in this film. The way that they killed her is completely brutal and over the top, and not fair for a character that we had grown to love for so many films. And I really hated it for that. And that was sort of what started me kind of hating this film. I do have to give props to Paul Rudd, who played the grown-up version of Tommy Doyle in this film. I really feel like this is his film, and he does a fantastic job in this. There are a couple of scenes where they made him like kind of his face twitch weird or something like that, and it just seemed kind of forced, but that was mostly in the reshot ending, so I don't know if that was initially it just seems off to me. It's just kind of strange. I also really love Marianne Hagen, who plays Kara in this film. I think she's fantastic in it, and she does a great job. You have the amazing George Wilbur coming back to play Michael Myers again. At this time, this was the only actor to play him more than once. In the reshoots, it was A. Michael Lerner who played him, but for the majority of the film, it is George Wilbur playing him. I do like the mood of this film, and again, this film was shot in Salt Lake City, Utah, like 4 and 5, but the mood of this film is fantastic because they actually shot it in the fall. So the other two films, I believe, were shot in like early spring, so this one really has a fall feel to it. The other thing I really love about Halloween 6 is that it goes back to the Strodes, that these are family members of Laurie Strode, that they're living in the Myers house, which looks like the normal Myers house. That was so much cooler to see it finally go, okay, this house looks like it could be the Myers house instead of that big gothic mess that was in Halloween 5. Problems with this film is that it just feels choppy, and I think it's because they did a lot of editing and reshoots, especially after Donald Pleasence passing, and it just doesn't work. There's a lot of stuff in this film that just doesn't work. I don't know if Joe Chappelle really cared about the franchise. His direction is okay, but there's just so many things about the theatrical cut that I don't like. I don't like the reshot ending. It makes no sense at all. It's one of the worst endings ever on a Halloween film, in my opinion. And I really just didn't like the way that the Loomis character and the Jamie character were treated in the film. Donald Pleasance's character that is so iconic with the Halloween franchise was reduced to a handful of scenes that add up to maybe about 25 minutes in the entire runtime. It just sucks. And I'm not a big fan of the theatrical cut still to this day. Now, the producer's cut of the film is so much better. I absolutely love it. I really feel like it ties the film into Halloween 5 so much better. There's a cut scene at the beginning where you see what happened after the shootout at the police station at the end of part 5. And you see like that Jamie was kidnapped by the Man in Black, that the cult took Michael, which is kind of a weird idea, but okay, they impregnated Jamie with Michael's baby. So that's... the whole thing is that Michael raped his niece. And that's something I've never been crazy about, but okay, I get it. And I get that they were trying to, this whole thing about evil and everything like that, that the baby was going to be the sacrifice. They really played into the cult more in the original cut of the film, the producer's cut. And Dr. Loomis had a much bigger role in it. In fact, the whole ending revolves around Michael and Dr. Loomis. And even though it's a strange ending, I really like it because it's different, and it makes you wonder what would happen if that would have been the cut that had gone out. What would Halloween 7 have been like if Dr. Donald Pleasance had lived, and this would have been, the next storyline would have had this being the running theme. I also just think the characters were given a little bit more time to breathe. There was some really annoying characters in the film, and like the radio guy that was supposed to be a play on Howard Stern, I think Barry Sims is his name. I couldn't stand him. Still couldn't stand him in the producer's cut, but there was things that happened that made a little bit more sense. Like how Michael got from place to place and things like that. They just made a little bit more sense. And the way that Jamie goes out in the producer's cut is much different than how she went out in the theatrical cut. And even though I'm not crazy about it, I preferred it in the producer's cut. Yeah, I love the producer's cut of the film. I still do not like the theatrical cut, and I think it's just a big mess. To rate both of them, so for the theatrical cut of The Curse of Michael Myers, I would give that film... I would give it 1.5 skulls. For the producer's cut of Halloween, The Curse of Michael Myers, I love that cut so much more. Wish that was the film that would have been released. I would give that cut of the film 4 skulls. So that is my thoughts on Halloween, The Curse of Michael Myers, producer's cut and theatrical cut. I'm curious what everyone thinks about these films. If you haven't seen the producer's cut, it is available only in this box set, but Dimension also put it out as a standalone Blu-ray that I also have in the collection, and I bought that at Walmart a couple years ago. So seek that out if you don't have it, because it is definitely worth watching, and I think it will give people a better appreciation of how good this film could have been if it hadn't been fucked up so much by the powers that be. I'm curious what everybody else thinks about these films. Please leave your thoughts in the comment section below. Would love to hear from everyone. And please stay tuned for part 7 of this series, where I'm going to be talking about Halloween H20, which would bring back the amazing Jamie Lee Curtis, aka Laurie Strode. Excited to talk about that one, and I hope you guys are excited to hear my thoughts on it. Please leave your thoughts in the comment section below. Would love to hear from everyone. And as always, thanks so much for watching BoogeyMan Ben's Horror Zone, and I'll talk to you guys later. Take it easy, stay scared.